Hey guys, Jamie here with The Point of It All. Find out why I'm about to return my second Asus ROG Ally in the last 2 months. It's not good. Hey guys, Jamie here with The Point of It All. Today we're talking about the Asus ROG Ally and whether or not it is a keeper or a return. So as you guys know, I did an unboxing of this device about a month, 2 months ago since it's been out. In fact, I was the first one in line at my local Best Buy to pick up the Ally in my town. And I was excited for it. I really was. And I have a Steam Deck already. I still do. But I wanted access to more PC games that the Steam Deck, for whatever reasons, for various reasons, doesn't really allow. So the Ally really piqued my interest, especially with the price point. At $699, it wasn't too much more than the Steam Deck was, and it offered more power and more flexibility as far as gaming goes on the go. But is it everything that I thought it would be? No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you guys where I believe the device falls short, and really some key areas. The biggest issue that I have with the device is that Windows itself just isn't set up for handheld gaming on a handheld device. It's just not. Microsoft has an opportunity to make an overlay for gaming or handhelds. If they would do that, it would really help this market grow even faster. But we're using Windows 11 just as you would on a desktop. It's the same Windows 11. And you're using that operating system without the benefit of the same tools that you'd have in a desktop environment, specifically a mouse and a keyboard. And that comes to bear immediately when you begin to set the device up initially. There is an on-screen keyboard, but it is so lacking that it makes the initial setup process really tedious and just a chore to go through. Now, I know you're saying, well, the Steam Deck doesn't have a keyboard either, but it does have trackpads, which really mitigates a lot of the issues that we have setting up the ROG Ally initially. Now, the problems extend beyond the setup period, though, or setup process. There will be times when you'll want access to an actual mouse, and sometimes a keyboard as well. Now, I can get around the keyboard with the on-screen keyboard. That isn't really the biggest issue. It's the lack of a mouse or trackpads to use in place of a mouse. Like now, the Steam Deck does have trackpads, and I missed them on the ROG Ally. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that any handheld device running Windows that doesn't ship with a trackpad is dead in the water for me from now on. I won't even consider buying it because even though you can play most of your Windows library on the Ally, you can't play some of them without a mouse, right? Now, Asus has, they do have access to the pointer. You can see it moving here with the right thumbstick, but some games don't recognize it and you just can't play them, right? Without a mouse. Now you can attach a mouse to it, a Bluetooth or wire USB-C. You could use a hub and connect all your devices, including keyboards and mice, to it. But it's a handheld device, and who wants to be tethered to an actual mouse and keyboard while you're playing a handheld device? I don't. That's not why I bought it. Now, to help with the lack of a mouse and keyboard, Asus, they do have their own version of SteamOS. And it's really just an overlay, a library, an overlay to, to make your games more accessible in one place, basically. So instead of going to Steam each time, you could actually just open up the Armory Crate, which is what we see here, and you could launch your games from here. You can also launch Steam from here if you wanted to as well. You also, within the Armory Crate, you have access to other settings, and this is the app that you'll use to tweak your game. So you could give each game its own profile as far as what power settings you want to use. If you want to limit the frames per second for a smoother operation, you can do all of that within the Armory Crate. But the issue that I have with the Armory Crate is that it's really clunky to use. You can see that it's not really responsive with my my joystick selections here. There's always a lag, and even after 2 months in and several updates, they've not found a way to fix that. You see the lag? I mean, it just makes using the app so much more frustrating than it needs to be. And there will be times when it will just lock up altogether, and the only option you have at that point is to go back to your desktop and shut it down, right? You just have to shut it down and reboot it again. The Armory Crate app, I mean. So now I mentioned the interface. I mentioned the interface as being a big issue, Windows in particular, the interface I'm talking about. But the other deal breaker that I think isn't performance. Performance is great. Like, once you get your game up and running, it runs great. It runs awesome. I mean, better than the Steam Deck, definitely. In some cases, in most cases, it does run better than the Steam Deck, especially for the higher end AAA games that have come out recently. But even though you can run those games at really good resolutions and frames per second and all that stuff, the battery on the Ally is probably, to me, even worse than the Windows interface. Like, I mean, I'm lucky to get 2 hours in one session, and to me, that just isn't enough. I mean, even if my average play session was only an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I want to shut it down and do something else, what if I'm not near a power supply? You can see where Armory Crate has frozen up again. Look at that. It's just frozen up. This is what we're talking about. I was just talking about this. It's just locked up. So now I can't even minimize it. I've got to go to Windows and shut it down. Look at that. It just woke up again. And this issue, this happens all the time with the Ally, when I'm using the Ally. It's all the time. Even when I'm in the Steam overlay, when I'm in the Steam library itself, the Steam app, it'll do similar things. We'll launch it right now. It'll do similar things. And I just launched Steam. You can look at it. This is what I'm talking about. This is Windows. Now, this is just Windows performance. But getting back to the battery, I was saying that even if my sessions were typically an hour and a half to 2 hours, if I'm out and about and I'm not near a power supply, I'm pretty much done with my Ally until I get out to a power supply. Now I carry around a battery pack, and I usually come prepared. But if I don't have that gear with me and I wanted to play again in a half an hour or so, I'm stuck. Like, I can't use this device anymore until I can charge it up again. So to me, 2 hours on a handheld is just abysmal. And there's really no way they can fix that with software upgrades. That's it. Like, this battery is what it is. I mean, you could try to change it down the road, but would that even be feasible? Would that even be safe for the device? I probably won't try to do that. So, I mean, I kind of like the device, but I also think that for the price point, it just isn't enough. $700, $740 with tax is a lot to ask for 2 hours of battery life. And I know you guys would maybe thinking, well, you can change the settings to lower the power draw and whatnot. I can, and I have, right? I have done that, but I'm still, I mean, I might get 2.5, maybe 3 hours, depending on the game I'm playing. But I promise you, my average time, your average time with this is going to be probably about 2.5, 3 hours max. 3 hours max. So if you do decide to take it out in the public, just bring a battery pack with you, or make sure that you're near a power supply. You can play it while it's plugged in to the AC in your wall. You can definitely do that, but it's a handheld that's screaming to be untethered from a power outlet. Like, the reason I wanted a handheld, the reason I got my Steam Deck, is so I can play it away from, you know, power requirements or necessities. And I just don't have that with the ROG Ally. There is a lot to like about this device. It's really lightweight compared to the Steam Deck. It's got some heft to it, but it's lighter than the Steam Deck. The screen is absolutely gorgeous. Probably the best feature of this device is the screen. And when you compare it to the Steam Deck, it's really, I mean, it just pops. It's really good. 120 hertz refresh rate, 7-inch 1080p. It's a gorgeous screen. And then another standout feature are the speakers. They sound a whole lot better than the Steam Deck does. As far as comfort goes, it's not bad. I mean, I like the grips on the Steam Deck better, to be honest with you. It just feels better in my hands. But the light weight of this does lend itself to a longer term use if the battery would last longer. I don't like the placement of the power of the volume buttons, right? It's just hard. You can't. I wish they were closer to the triggers or the top buttons here. I wish they were closer, because you always have to stop, move your hand, just do it. You have to take your hands away from the controls altogether to change the power, to change the volume buttons there. And I also don't like where the USB-C cord is either. You can see where you plug in your USB-C port, your plug right here. I wish it were on the bottom. I wish the Steam Deck was on the bottom as well. It really drives me crazy that it's on the top. It's just really annoying. The fingerprint reader on the power button works great. No issues with that whatsoever. It always functions properly. And then the memory card slot. I know there were some issues earlier on with the memory card, the heat from the device frying some memory cards. I didn't have that issue, but when I initially got this 2 months ago, this is my second version, by the way. I returned the first one because I was just disappointed in the performance, but I got it again about 3 weeks ago. And when I first set this up during the initial launch, there was an issue with pre-formatted memory cards working in the system. Like you have to format your memory card in this device for it to recognize, for the system to recognize it. Otherwise, each time you power down the device, the memory card wouldn't be recognized until you went into settings or device manager and, disabled and re-enabled it, and then it popped up again. So as long as you initially format your card in this device, there would be no issues whatsoever. I thought I'd be smart and format mine ahead of time before I got the device and just pop it in and play it on a different Windows PC, but that does not work. What else? As I said before, there's a lot to like with this device, and I'm leaning towards returning it. In fact, I might box it up today and return it just based on the price point. If I can get this for about $400, I feel a lot better about the purchase, and I'd probably keep it. But at $700, it's a really tall ask. I just can't see. There's the back of it, by the way. You can see these rear buttons. I never use these. I don't use them on the Steam Deck either. Yeah, at $750, $740 with tax in my area, it's just a tall ask. It's just a lot to pay for a device with so many issues, specifically the battery life and Windows OS in general. The lack of trackpads really just does it in for me as well. Guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I really want you guys to understand that I am not a technophobe. I am a consumer of technology and tech gadgets. So I'm only going to give you guys my opinions based on my general use. I'm not going to get into power draw and terabytes and teraflops, and I'm not going to do that. I want you guys to know what it's like to use this just from an average consumer point of view. Okay, I may be a little more than average. I might be a little more of a techno nerd, but again, I'm just on the upper bird's eye view type user, and hopefully this helps you guys out make a decision whether or not you're going to buy this for yourself. But for this video, that's all I'm going to do. Until my next one, guys, thanks for watching. I'm also an Amazon affiliate, so if you guys click on the link and purchase things through my links below in my description, I might earn a small commission that will help keep this channel going and growing. Hopefully we can see you guys later on down the road. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Peace out.